Hey first grade, I'm so happy to see you here today. It's Miss Parks, and we are going to do a reading lesson using the skill of wondering. And wondering is when we ask ourselves questions about the things that we're reading about to help us learn more. And that's what we were working on before school got let out. So it's okay if it takes you a minute to remember how this works, but we're going to do it together. And we are going to start reading a book today, and then we're going to finish it tomorrow together, okay? So what you're going to need for these lessons is yourself, and obviously you're already here, which is great. And you're going to need a turn and talk partner. Now, that could be anybody, okay? If you've got a grown-up with you, that's great. If you have a brother or sister or cousin in your house, you could sit with them and they could do the lesson with you. If you have a pet, you can talk to them. You could grab your favorite stuffy. And if you need to, you can pick up your imaginary phone and call me, and I'll be waiting to talk to you, okay? So we are going to read part of a book today, and it's called Big Blue Whale. And the author is Nicola Davies, and the illustrator is Nick Malland, okay? So this is a nonfiction book, and in writing, we've just started talking about the difference between fiction and nonfiction. So think in your brain for a second, what's the difference between fiction and nonfiction? If you said fiction is make-believe and nonfiction teaches us something real, you got it exactly right, okay? So we're going to read part of this together today, and then we're going to finish it in our next lesson tomorrow. So before we start, I want you to think, what do you already know about whales? And you can think about that in your brain, and you can even tell your turn and talk partner. I'll give you a second. All right, great. Let's come back together. Now, this book is about the big blue whale, and that's a special kind of whale. So I want you to think, what do you wonder about big blue whales? You can turn and tell your turn and talk partner. Now, normally if we were in our classroom, I would have a big chart of paper up, but since we didn't have a lot of time before we came home, I don't have any paper yet, but I hope to soon. So I went ahead and made a list of things I think you might wonder on this chart, and it says what we wonder about blue whales. I said, I wonder how big blue whales are. I wonder if blue whales are really blue. And I wonder how many babies blue whales have. Did you wonder anything else? Interesting. All right, well, we're going to go ahead and read the first part of the story together. And we're going to stop partway through to talk about it, all right? So Big Blue Whale by Nicola Davies and illustrated by Nick Malland. Big Blue Whale. Make sure you can see okay. I'm going to scoot my chair over a little bit. There we go. The blue whale is big, bigger than a giraffe, bigger than an elephant, bigger than a dinosaur. The blue whale is the biggest creature that has ever lived on Earth. And this says female or girl blue whales are a little bigger than the males or the boys. Blue whales can grow to 100 feet long and weigh 150 tons. That's heavier than 25 elephants or 115 giraffes. Reach out and touch the blue whale's skin. It's springy and smooth like a hard-boiled egg, and it's as slippery as wet soap. Look into its eye. You can see its tiny little eye up there. It's as big as a teacup and as dark as the deep sea. Just behind the eye is a hole as small as the end of a pencil. The hole is one of the blue whale's ears. Sticking out ears would get in the way when the whale is swimming. And this says, in deep water, there isn't much light and it's hard to see. So blue whales use their sense of hearing and their sense of touch to find their way around. The blue whale lives all of its long life in the sea, But it is a mammal like us, and it breathes air, not water. And a mammal is an animal that breathes air, has a backbone, feeds its baby milk from its body, and has warm blood. From time to time, it has to come to the surface to breathe through the blowholes on the top of its head. And this says blue whales can live for about 70 to 80 years, so almost like a human. When it breathes out, it makes a great misty puff as high as a house. This is the whale's blow, and you can see it from far away. You can hear it too, a great poof. And if you're close enough, you can smell it as the whale's breath is stale and fishy. And here you can see it. That's the blow. It says a blue whale can stay underwater for 30 minutes or more, but on long journeys, it usually surfaces for air every 2 to 5 minutes. All right, so I want you to think in your brain for a second. What have you learned so far about blue whales? So think in your brain, and then you can tell your turn and talk partner. And remember, if you don't have anybody to talk to, you can call me up, okay? All right, great. Let's come back together again. This says, take a look inside its mouth. Don't worry, the blue whale doesn't eat people. It doesn't even have any teeth. It has hundreds of baleen plates instead. They're the long, bristly things hanging down from the top of its jaw. See these? And bristly means stiff or straight. The whale doesn't need teeth for biting or chewing because its food is tiny. And here it says a blue whale can have as many as 790 baleen plates in its mouth. Baleen is tough, bendy stuff like extra hard fingernails. You can have a really good look at it. The blue whale eats krill, pale, pinkish, shrimp-like creatures the size of your little finger. There you can see close up. That's a krill. Billions of them live in the cold seas around the North and South poles. In summer, there can be so many that the water looks pink. So that's when blue whales come to the polar seas to eat. And remember, the polar seas, if you think about the big blue globe or Earth in our classroom, the polar seas are the ones that are at the very far top at the north and the very far bottom at the south. It takes an awful lot of tiny krill to feed a great big blue whale. But the whale doesn't catch them one at a time. It has a special way of swallowing whole swarms of them at once. And a swarm is a large group of very small animals, like insects or krill. First, it takes a huge gulp of krill in salty seawater. There's room for all of this because the whale's throat unfolds and opens out like a vast balloon. Then it uses its big tongue to push the water out between its bristly baleen plates. It says a blue whale can have as many as 88 folds of skin in its throat. Oh my goodness. The water streams away and leaves the krill caught on the bristles like peas in a sieve. A sieve is like a strainer. Now all the whale has to do is lick them off and swallow them. And this says a blue whale can eat about 30 million krill in just one day. That's 3 big truckloads. So I'm going to stop reading there, and I want you to think, what did you learn about big blue whales today that surprised you? You could tell that to your turn and talk partner. Also, what else are you wondering about blue whales? The great thing about reading fiction stories is that, or even nonfiction stories, is that sometimes the more we learn, the more we start to wonder. So, what are you wondering about blue whales? All right, great job, first grade. And I know this is a little bit different and it feels a little funny to not be in our classroom and using or talking to your usual turn and talk partner. But I'm really proud of all of you for being so flexible with this new kind of learning. And what I'd like you to do now is do some of your independent reading. And I know normally we'd have our book baggies and we don't really have those at home right now, but all of you have access to Raz Kids on the computers. And hopefully your grown-ups have helped you figure that out. If not, this is a great time to do that. But I'd love for you to go into Raz Kids and pick a book that's at your just right level and spend at least 15 minutes reading today, okay? Now, Raz Kids has the little quizzes at the end to help you make sure you really understood what you read. But while you're reading, I want you to think about, what is this book about? What am I learning or hearing? Why did I choose this book? What do you like about the book? Okay, and you can also wonder, what else do I want to know? When you're finished reading, you could pick your favorite book that you read if you read more than one, and you could write about what you learned. You could draw a picture of your favorite part. If there was a problem in the story, if you read a fiction story, you could write about what the problem and solution was, okay? And we will meet back again tomorrow or sometime this week for the second part of this lesson. All right, see you later, first grade.